Welcome back to the Greenhouse Music Podcast.
Best music class you've ever heard. It's the best music class you've ever heard.
It's Miss Delana.
Hello, I'm Miss Delana, and before I tell you anything, I want you to listen to something. Close your eyes for just a second and hear this. That sound right there, that's going to change everything you think you know about a composer who was panicking on a train trying to write the impossible. So stick around, because this story is wild. Here we are, August 2nd, and welcome back to the Greenhouse Music Podcast, my music makers. I am Delana, and this is the best music class you've ever heard, right? And if you're new here, please go ahead, leave a comment and tell us where you're from. First, we're going to ask a couple questions. Have you ever been on a train? I think I have maybe 3 times. Once was at Disney World, once was in Asia, and once was in South America. Maybe that's some fun facts in the future to talk about. So, have you ever been in a car, a bus? Yeah, you know those, right? Maybe some that are a little bit louder than others. You might go clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack down the road. Here's what's wild, though. One of America's greatest composers heard that exact rhythm, wheels on the tracks, and changed music forever. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how a New York kid wrote a masterpiece in just 11 days, why the sliding clarinet sound is called a glissando, and why jazz musicians and classical conductors were fighting over whether or not this piece could be called real music. So you better stick around, because I've got the story of George Gershwin, a musician who turned a train ride into the heartbeat of American music. Let's go. Okay, picture this. And if you've never been to New York like me, you might have to try a little bit harder. But it's January 1924. George Gershwin is 25 years old. He's written songs, he's worked in with orchestras, but he's not yet famous. His brother, Ira, who writes words for the songs, is reading the newspaper one morning and he sees an advertisement. That advertisement said, "An experiment in modern music." There was going to be a huge concert, a concert that's supposed to prove that American music can be just as fancy and important as European music. And guess what? Well, George Gershwin is supposed to write something for it. Except nobody told George, not yet. So Ira shows George the newspaper. What a great brother he is. George turns white. He's got maybe a month to write an entire piece for orchestra. Most composers take months, sometimes years, to write something this big. Gershwin decides right then he's going to do it, and he's got a bit of a wild idea. He gets on a train and he's heading to Boston, and sitting on the train watching the landscape blur past, listening to the wheels of the tracks. Clickety, he hears a melody. The rhythm of train becomes the rhythm of song. And he's going to call it Rhapsody in Blue. Now, what is a rhapsody? Well, it is a free-flowing musical piece, an impassioned, expressive, and full of strong emotion, or an epic poem segment. Interesting, right? So here's where it gets interesting. Most classical music, the fancy stuff you hear in concert halls, follows very strict rules. The melody is clear, the rhythm is steady, everything matches perfectly like a well-organized library. But jazz? Jazz is improvisation, which means it's made up on the spot. It moves, it's playful. It's like a conversation between musicians, and they're riffing off of each other, bending the rules, sliding between notes. Gershwin decided to blend those two together. He took the structure of classical music, an actual orchestra with violins and horns and all of that, and he mixed it with jazz rhythms and jazz phrasing, and he did it all in just 11 days. Now, another quick note about this. He isn't just writing it for one instrument. He's writing this for 24 musicians to all play together in an orchestra, and that includes him on the piano live. That's a lot of work. That's roughly 2 each day that he had to focus on. That's amazing, don't you think? Now, when the piece premiered on February 12th at a concert hall called Aeolian Hall in New York, nobody knew what to think. Classical musicians said, "This isn't real music, it's jazz, and jazz is just popular junk." And jazz musicians said, "This is too fancy, it's too structured, He'd broken the rules so badly that everybody was confused. And that, friends, is exactly why it's genius. Now, there's one sound in Rhapsody in Blue that you absolutely have to know about. At the very beginning, there's a clarinet, and the clarinetist does this. It's like a whoop sound. That sliding sound is called a glissando. It's like the difference between walking down the stairs one step at a time, step, 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 versus sliding down on the handrail. The handrail slide is the glissando. You're moving through all the pitches and the tones in between, not just landing on specific notes. Here's the plot twist. Gershwin never wrote that glissando into the score. The clarinetist playing at the premiere, a guy named Ross Gorman, added it as a joke. What? During rehearsal. He was just goofing around with his friends and to make them laugh, and he was also warming up. But Gershwin heard it and said, whoa, wait, dude. That sounded actually pretty cool. Keep that. That's perfect. And now for 100 years, every single clarinetist has played that glissando at the start of Rhapsody in Blue. What started as a joke became something that actually made the song very iconic, and it's one of the most recognizable portions of that song. Sometimes the most beautiful parts of a song come from accidents and playfulness, and it's just so beautiful to think about. From just not being scared to break the rules, you can create something magical. Now, here's something really cool. Once you start listening to Rhapsody in Blue, listen for its personality. And this is actually what caught me and my attention, because this piece has so much character. It's telling a story, and I don't know if I fully understand what the story is, but I feel the story. And that is something that makes music really incredible. What makes certain songs incredible. It starts out as very sassy and playful. That clarinet, it feels like it's giving you a little smirk. Like Gershwin is saying, hey, watch this. I'm about to break all the rules. Cheeky and confident. I like them. Then it gets restless and fast-paced. It bounces with jazz rhythms that make you feel like you're in the middle of a big, busy city. Everything's moving, everything's alive, click, clack, clickety, like those train wheels. But here's where it gets wild. Suddenly it shifts. The piece gets soulful and yearning. The energy drops and you get this rich, sweeping, deeply romantic piano melody. It's like the piece is saying two things at once. I'm excited and alive, but I'm also peaceful, maybe sad, and I'm dreaming. That's the genius of it. Rhapsody in Blue is proudly American. It captures a mix of bluesy sorrow and hopeful, bright energy. It's like Gershwin is saying, this is America. We're restless, we're creative, we're sassy, we're hopeful, we're always reaching for something bigger. Now here's some historical context for you. First, Gershwin sees this in a newspaper article announcing that he has a concerto that he's going to perform. What? And it's the 1920s. Roaring 1920s is what it's called. New York City was a vibrant hub of diverse musical styles, from Harlem jazz clubs to Broadway theater. America had just come out of what was called the Gilded Age. It lasted for about 30 years, from roughly 1870 to 1900s. Historians use this time frame to mark the era between the end of the American Civil War and the start of the 20th century, a big part of why it was called the Gilded Age, which was actually coined by Mark Twain. Fun fact. But it had this thing that was old money versus new money. Families with generational wealth and long-standing social lineage dating back decades or centuries, such as the Astor family in New York, well, they valued tradition, quiet status, exclusion of outsiders. They had a club and you could not get into it. They were the old money, and they ran their families, their clubs very much just like Europe did. In England, it kind of came over and it influenced this style of living. Then you had the new money, the tycoons and self-made industrialists who rapidly became millions and got fortunes during the industrial boom from steel, oil, and railroads, such as the Vanderbilt or the Rockefeller families. And they flaunted their wealth and with extravagant mansions and lavish parties, fighting for acceptance in high society. So there was this battle between these two very, very rich classes that kind of turned up their noses at each other. But one really represented America and what it became known as today, this place for anybody to make a new name for themselves. And this is how I believe it links very well to Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. It has all those mod shifts. Why? I mean, it starts out as sassy, and then it's yearning, and that's not random. That's intentional. He was talking about history in some beautiful way there. He was literally putting the conflict into music. One moment it's saying, I'm young, I'm American, I'm new and wild and can't be controlled, I've got money. And that's kind of that jazzy feel. And the next moment it's saying, I am also elegant and romantic, and I understand beauty and tradition. That classical, well, that was very much old money. This piece is the Gilded Age in musical form. All that energy, all that clash, all that hope, that maybe the old and new could actually make something beautiful together. Even though this may have been up to 20 years after the Gilded Age, I really believe that the conflict was still present. And I think it's very possible that that influenced a lot of this song. Don't you? All right, are you ready for a musical activity today? You're going to get to yell true or false back at me. You ready? Let's see how well you're listening. Gershwin was 25 years old when he wrote Rhapsody in Blue. Is this true or false? That one is true. Good job. Number 2, Gershwin wrote it in 14 days. Is this true or false? That one is false. What? No, I said he wrote it in 11 days. It's more fantastic. Number 3, he rode a roller coaster for inspiration. True or false? That one is false, although it might have been the equivalent of a roller coaster back then. I don't know, but it was a train. Is that similar? You tell me. Next, the glissando was in the original score. True or false? That one was false. Which instrument created it? Do you remember? All right, how about that's the next question? It was the trombone that came up with the glissando. True or false? False. It was the saxophone that came up with the glissando. True or false? False. It was the trumpet that came up with the glissando. True or false? False. It was the clarinet that came up with the glissando. True or false? That one was true. Good job. Hopefully you were listening through all of that. Last one. It became famous, but at first, critics didn't really know what to say. They were confused. True or false? That one was true. Okay, so here's our next segment, what I've been listening to this week. And this is actually something really cool that I want you to watch. Hayato Sumino performing the full Rhapsody in Blue on YouTube. I will have the link in the description. Ask your parents to check it out with you. It's really fun to listen together as a family. This performance is wild because Hayato is playing 2 instruments at the same time. He's playing the melodica, which you may remember from me talking about in the Josh Bush Bluey music episode. But not only is he playing the melodica, he's also playing the piano for the whole part. That is amazing. It's like watching someone be 2 musicians at once or juggling different instruments. When you watch this, listen for the clarinet glissando at the beginning. You'll hear it on his melodica. Then watch his hands move between the melodica and the piano keys for the whole song. It's mesmerizing. And this is what mastery looks like. If you love this episode, go back and listen to episode 12, Carnival of Animals. That's about another composer who took inspiration from the world around him. Saint-Saëns wrote about animals. Gershwin wrote about trains. Same idea, totally different inspiration. And then go back and listen to episode 69. What does music actually do to your brain? Because that episode explains why the glissando and those jazz rhythms hit us the way they do. It's about how your brain responds to different types of musical sounds. Your brain is literally different when you listen to jazz versus classical music. Gershwin understood that instinctively, and he put it all in one piece. What great conflict. Okay, friends, I want you to think about this for a moment. George Gershwin heard music in something that nobody else was hearing music in. He heard it in the train. He heard the clickety-clack rhythm, and he turned it into one of the most famous pieces of music in the world. Your whole world is full of sounds just like that. The hum of a refrigerator, the rhythm of your footsteps when you're walking to school, the rain on the roof, the beep, beep, beep of a truck backing up, the whoosh of a wind. All that is rhythm and sound. All that is music waiting to be noticed. So here's my challenge for you this week. Become a sound collector. Walk around your house, your neighborhood, your school, and listen. What rhythms do you hear maybe that most people ignore? What sounds could become a song if you really paid attention? Maybe it's the rhythm of your skateboard wheels. Maybe it's the patter of your dog's paws on the floor. Maybe it's the tap, tap, tap of the keyboard when your parents typing. Whatever it is, listen to it. Try to remember it. Sing it back, because you might be hearing your next musical masterpiece. And here's what I know. If a 25-year-old kid can hear a train and turn it into something that moves millions of people 100 years later, imagine what you can hear. Imagine what you can create. I believe in you, music maker. Keep listening. Keep paying attention to all the sounds and the rhythm. The world is singing to you all the time. You just have to hear it. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, friends. If you loved Gershwin's train ride and the story of how 11 days in a train journey changed music forever, I'd love to hear from you. Really, I would. Do you listen to Rhapsody in Blue? Did you watch Hayato Sumino play both the melodica and the piano at the same time? Leave me a comment. Send us a message on Instagram at greenhousemusicak, or head over to greenhousemusic.co. I read every single message, and I'd love to know what you discovered this week. And if the episode made you smile, would you please share it with someone, a friend, a sibling, a classmate who loves music like you? We're building this community one music lover at a time, and you're a part of it. Until next time, keep creating, keep listening, and remember, this is the best music class you've ever heard. Bye for now. Hey parents, do you want a free worksheet or book or page to go along with the lesson that your kids learned today? Head on over to green.myflowdesk.com/podcast to get our newsletter that will have a new worksheet or lesson to go along with each new episode. That's green.myflowdesk.com/podcast. The link is also available in the podcast description on each episode.